In a recent video, we covered how ETFs can be used to generate passive income in a portfolio, but achieving it is more than just buying a collection of income ETFs and calling it a day. This video goes back to the principles behind passive income. If you've already built up your savings and want to know how to choose ETFs for passive income, you can skip to the last section of this video. Let's begin by going through the basics of setting a passive income goal. There are a number of reasons why you might want passive income: to boost your household budget, help cover bills, or to go on a nice holiday once a year. Achieving this income requires you to have a nest egg. This is the hub of your investment that will allow you to generate passive income. Unless you've recently stumbled upon a lot of wealth, you'll probably need to save a bit to create a large enough nest egg for your goal. Consider this example. If you have a $200,000 nest egg and earn 4% in income each year, you'll be generating $8,000 in passive income. That's pretty impressive. But let's say your goal is $10,000 every year. To increase your passive income, you can do one of two things: increase your nest egg or increase your rate of income. Let's say you increase your nest egg to $250,000. 4% income on $250,000 means your passive income increases to $10,000. The downside to this is that it will take you longer to reach a nest egg of $250,000. You might have to save for longer or give up certain expenses in the near term, like overseas travel or going out for nice dinners. On the other hand, you might try to increase your rate of income, but that usually means you may be increasing your risk. You'd need 5% yield for $10,000 of passive income. You might consider investing in Australian shares that pay out high dividends to reach this goal, taking on more risk. That risk ultimately puts the capital value of your nest egg at risk as well. A decline in the value of Australian shares means you'll have a smaller base to generate income with. When forecasting how much you'll need for your nest egg, you also need to consider that rates of income vary over time. Interest rates and how well economies are doing will influence how much cash, bonds, or companies are paying out as income. Once you've determined the size your nest egg will have to be, you can work backwards to find how long you'll need to reach your goal. You'll need to consider the following things: your investment capacity. Achieving your goal will require discipline and regular investments. Consider how much you can realistically set aside every week or month to meet this objective. And don't underestimate the power of cutting costs. There's probably a few ways you can get some easy wins, like cancelling that streaming subscription you never use, using public transport instead of Ubers, or buying a cheaper brand of peanut butter. The ability for these small contributions to compound over time is pretty significant. Check out this video here that covers the power of compound returns. You can also consider an investing platform like BetaShares Direct that allows you to set up automated investments on a weekly or monthly basis. This helps to remove some of the human bias that can slow you down on your journey to wealth. Next, think about your time horizon. Generating passive income requires patience. If you know you'll need to withdraw from your nest egg at some point in the near future to cover expenses, you might need to adjust the time horizon linked to your goal. Wealth grows most consistently when it's invested over a long time horizon. Consider an old investing story from the 1906 book, The Pitfalls of Speculation. The author studied 4,000 investor accounts over 10 years and found that, incredibly, investors who lived further away from brokerage offices and were less able to make trades performed much better than investors who were closer to brokerage offices and made more trades. The difference in performance was so marked that the book concluded that isolation has its advantages in investment performance. What's the lesson here? Sometimes it's just better to leave your investments alone and let them grow. Constant readjustment and moving money out of accounts won't necessarily help you reach your passive income goal faster. You'll also need to think about your risk tolerance. Understand the level of comfort you have with fluctuating markets. If you know you're someone who will lose sleep when markets crash, don't dive into high-risk investments with high potential payoffs. Better to take a more measured and diversified approach to investing. It could take longer to build up your nest egg, but you'll likely enjoy the investing journey more. Finally, don't forget the big picture. It can be easy to forget that you can still be growing your nest egg, even once it's started generating passive income. Chasing income sounds good, but sacrificing growth potential could ultimately be detrimental in the long term. Now, if you've already built up a bit of a nest egg, you'll be looking for which ETFs you can invest in. Doing thorough research is important. Here are a few indicators as to the ETFs that can help provide passive income. Has the ETF paid distributions consistently? Have a look at the ETF's history of regular distributions. This will help you better understand the volatility and growth of the regular income. ETF fund pages often quote current or recent income for an ETF, but this does not necessarily mean that this income is sustainable. Consider the holdings of the ETF and whether these holdings might continue to pay out similar returns in the future. For example, a cash ETF's yield will likely be closely tied to prevailing interest rates. Compare this to an ETF holding technology companies. These companies probably aren't paying out much in dividends, so a large distribution is likely to be a rare occurrence. Next, have a look at the ETF costs. Fees erode your returns, so you should consider the management costs and potential transaction fees when building your passive income strategy. You'll also need to have a look at the cash flow timing of ETFs. If you need passive income to cover daily expenses, you should consider ETFs that pay distributions on a monthly basis. If you're planning on using passive income to pay bills, you might consider an ETF that distributes quarterly. And if you're using your passive income stream for that annual holiday, you could choose ETFs that pay annual distributions. Keeping track of all these things can be difficult, but you can use an investing platform like BetaShares Direct to help make them a bit easier. With zero brokerage on ASX-listed ETFs and the option to automate your investing, you can start your journey to passive income today. And if you want to learn more about investing, ETFs, and how to build wealth over the long term, subscribe to the channel. Bye for now.